Hi there. Welcome to The Preventable, the podcast giving you a seat at the table with conversations about the intersection of alcohol, drugs, and mental health in everyday lives. Take a seat and join us.
So we are back at The Preventable with Ryan and Kenajo, and this has happened once before, actually, where the conversation was so good we just had to keep it going. This isn't something that happens a lot. So I'm intrigued, and I think a lot of other people are too, because it's a relatively new field. It's not a new concept though, right? Like the idea of peer support is not new. I mean, if anything, we talk about peer pressure. We know about the importance of peers, how they can kind of make or break you. And so it's really fascinating how this is emerging as a field.
Yeah, we've always tried to help each other and be there for each other as peers. It just wasn't labeled anything.
Exactly.
It takes a team to stay sober.
Yeah,
it really does.
It really does. And
There's
you're
one
part
person.
of the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we last spoke, Kenajo, you were talking about some things that your former employer did that were really helpful in helping you maintain your sobriety. I'm wondering if there's an employer who is listening right now. So we talked about going to drug court graduations. We talked about, allowing space for the employee to make appointments and do things that they need to do. Are there other things that are maybe even a little more simple, like anything regarding access to mental health services and an EAP? Like, are there other things that employers could do that would help their employees?
Absolutely.
Or their employees' families?
Absolutely. But I'm finding a lot of these employers, especially in like the factory industrial field, are already doing that.
Oh.
Yeah, they
okay.
offer free counseling services. I know Buddies was also one of those. I'm learning a lot with like my sponsees and even some of the peers I'm working with that are being able to find employment that is willing to also work around their schedule and not hold them accountable if they have to leave. So it's actually, it's still very slim pickings on those, but they're out there.
Yeah.
And they do make a huge difference because we deal a lot with guilt and shame. And when we're still having to face the consequences of our past and it's affecting our future, and we're constantly worried about how our employer's looking at us or if we're inconvenient or how we're bothering them, like, that really hinders us in our workability, our mental health, the vibe that we can bring to the table in that environment, and then also in the next environment we go into because we just walked away like, man, I probably just let them down. And I find people in recovery or finding a path of recovery are like so motivated to just do the right thing and be the best they can be. Like there are no limitations almost once they figure out that they have the ability to be capable. Like they just strive for more because they just want to, I guess, kind of make up for our past.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really make up for it, but
well, you want to do right.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it's like become your mission almost to do right by the people that you did wrong, so to speak, or it's almost
a form
like
of amends.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that employers can do with the employee-employer relationship is just be open and honest with each other, about your situation with legal troubles, and don't just people are afraid to tell their boss that I'm in trouble for this, or I had a substance use problem. But if you allow them to just be open and honest about it, then I feel like that creates trust, and you're way more apt to have a better relationship with your boss if you guys know what's going on with each other.
Right.
Going back to my pregnant girl that I took to treatment, like she was going to have to call her boss, and she's like, how do I ask for that much time off? And I said, be honest.
Yeah.
And to see how responsive and encouraging and supportive her employer was about that, and was like, just give me a call when you get out and we'll work on the next steps. It like blew her mind. She started crying. She's like, I cannot believe. And I'm like, to be honest, the more we're honest with people, the more willing they are to help us. And a lot of that is fear. We don't go in there and we don't say, hey, this is what's really going on. but I will do the best I can do if you just give me a shot.
And to be fair, there are some employers who you wouldn't dream of having that conversation with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of their image or their bottom line or whatever.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I mean, it takes people in recovery to be, or with substance use disorders, to be open, but it also takes some open-mindedness and education on the part of the employer and the HR professional, right?
Yeah.
So to know that it's not a moral failing or a character flaw, like this is a disease that
Yeah.
needs to be managed just
Yeah.
like other diseases. And I think that's where you all and we at Prevent+Ed, play a part, is helping educate on what is and is not a substance use disorder, what it is and what it's not.
Absolutely. And I think that, our predecessors, the people who were in recovery before us, kind of led that path to show that it's worth taking the risk on someone trying to change their life around.
Mm-hmm.
They gave that example of, okay, so we've had good turnouts. Why not try some more? But it is a risk no
Yeah.
matter what, because we have our good days. We have our bad days.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you all talked a little bit about, Ken and Joe specifically, you said that people in recovery are many times are seeking to sort of make amends and are willing to, show you and prove to you that they can do it and that they want to do it. I'm wondering if you see any patterns of the people that are coming to you, that are your peers. I mean, and by patterns I mean things that have led them to this stage in their journey, drugs of choice, family situations. Like, are there any patterns that you're seeing? Because you're really like boots on the ground,
Yeah.
right? We could quote data points, but every person you meet is a data point.
Yeah. I would say the number one thing is trauma. They've
Mm.
all experienced trauma, including myself, and I'm sure Ken and Joe has as well. I mean, I never realized how big of an impact the trauma has on a person's life until I actually got this job and learned about trauma. I didn't know that was such a factor, and I lit the ACEs charts. That score, I scored an 8 out of 10 on it, and now looking back, it's like, wow, I never even had a chance.
And not to say that that's the reason or the excuse
No.
or whatever, but it also contributes to.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a kid and you're having traumatic event after traumatic event, and maybe there's a lack of like coping skills present or peer support or whatever. I mean, that trauma is persistent.
Yeah, and then you find you try a drug and it makes you feel good, and it's
Or
like,
numb
wow,
it
I don't
out.
have to feel that.
Right.
I found something that makes me feel good, so you just naturally you do it more and more and more, and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it takes over your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, too, is environmental. A lot of the people, to include myself, came from a family of addiction,
Yeah, me
of
too.
alcoholism. And a lot of the peers that we work with come from that, too. Not all of them. Some of them
Yeah.
come from some really good homes, but have dealt with their own insecurities and fears through life that led them a different path, But between the trauma and the environmental, and a lot of times our environmental is our trauma.
Right.
Like not
Right.
getting the love we needed, our parents never being around, or just not understanding what's going on in the environment, because it's not, when you go to your friend's house, that's not what's happening over there, but why is this happening at my house, And so, and then a lot of the parents tend to use with their children as they grow older, so that becomes the family normal.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So trauma is what I'm hearing. Are you hearing anything particularly with a particular kind of drug, or is it kind of
A lot
just
of-
a little bit of everything? Is it a lot of poly use?
A lot
Is
of
it-
meth. A lot
Really?
of meth. Yeah, and fentanyl, of course. Meth and
Mhm.
fentanyl are the two, I would say, the top two.
And we're struggling with a lot of the people who are using meth don't even know they're using fentanyl. We have people
Right.
overdosing
Yeah.
off meth, and they're like, I've never touched that drug in
Yeah.
my life. But
That's why it's so addictive. The
They
meth.
are.
That's why it's so hard to stop meth, is because it has fentanyl in it.
And deadly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I was talking to somebody the other day who recreationally, that even sounds funny to say, but on the weekends uses cocaine, and does it with their friends to party and relieve
Mhm.
stress. And it is a real concern that they are going to die, which is kind of nuts when you think about it, because 5-10 years ago,
Didn't have to worry about that.
you didn't really have to worry about it. And
Yeah.
now that the supply has been so infiltrated with fentanyl, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is a real fear. And so how then do you, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but how do you communicate to the person who is using Coke to blow off some steam, so to speak, on a Saturday night? Like, how do you, and has been maybe doing that for 15 years, how do you communicate that to them that you're concerned they're going to die without
Yeah.
sounding like an alarmist? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Just be a realist.
Yeah.
Tell them to watch the news, and
Yeah,
you see how
watch
many
the
people have
news.
died.
Yeah.
Each day. I mean, it's. You're right. It's not like it was 10 years ago. You could go out, have a reoccurrence, relapse, and no big deal. I mean, you didn't have to worry about dying at least. But now, when I have a peer that goes back out, it scares me because I don't know if he's going to come back.
I know.
Choice
Because
has been
it's-
taken from them.
You just never know what's going to kill you.
The choice has been taken, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. I said, at least when I was in my active addiction, I had the choice of which drug I was using. Now people don't even have that choice anymore. They are being, in a very sneaky way, forced into other choices and other addictions,
Mhm.
and those walls are just closing in even more on their, like, they don't have a voice even in their addiction at all anymore.
Wow,
really.
I've never
You know
thought
what
of
I
it
mean?
like that.
So, like,
Interesting.
yeah, we don't want people using drugs, but now they don't even have the choice on what drug they're really
What
using
drug to
or
use.
what
Yeah.
harm they're really creating for themselves because they don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, you don't. I remember one time I failed a UA for my probation officer, and I thought I was just going to fail for meth. And he said I failed for MDMA, fentanyl, cocaine. I
And you
mean,
were like,
I was
"Excuse
like,
me?"
I thought I just did meth. And he's like, well, you never know what's in it these days.
Right,
And I'm
right.
like, well, I guess not.
I am so grateful for you both individually, but also you collectively in the work that you're doing in Franklin County. I know many times when we talk about you, it's like Ryan and Kenajo, Kenajo and Ryan. But I want to know what do you want for yourself in the next 5 years? I'm not even going to say success, because as far as I'm concerned, you're a success story. But what's the next step for you? And that could be personally or professionally. You really can answer it any way you want. Kenajo, let's start with you. What do you want next 5 years?
So my goal is not attainable in the next 5 years. Probably not. you know, 'cause
Okay.
there's a
All
lot,
right.
you
Okay.
know.
So let's say 10 years.
But I definitely want to bring more treatment services, safe living for addicts looking for recovery in Franklin County. We don't have enough supply, and there's definitely a lot more demand, and more detox options.
You want to
Safe
open your own
detox.
place, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Put it into the universe. Let's manifest it.
And I have a whole group of people I want to do this with. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Amazing people. But in the next 5 years, I just want to continue to make an impact. I just want to continue to help at least one person.
Mm-hmm.
Because we come in contact with many, and we plant that seed. We plant that seed. We might not get the results we want, but we plant that seed. But then with other ones, like, they're just flying.
Mhm.
It's so amazing to get to see the lives they're building and just see that light switch. Somebody just get it. Like that one
The light bulb
small
moment.
of,
As
I
an
did that.
educator, I get it. That's the light bulb
Yes.
moment. You might wait all year for that darn light bulb moment.
Yes.
And then that sometimes is enough to carry you for another couple months.
And of course, I want some kids to move out of my house eventually.
Okay. All
That's a
right,
goal,
kids, if
too.
you're listening, move out. Ryan, what's up for you? I know you've had some pretty big milestones lately, just as you're really taking steps professionally. So what's on the horizon for you?
Yeah. Well, this month, I'll have 2 years sober on the 15th.
Woohoo!
And my probation will be finally over on the 15th.
Holy shit, that's
So
huge.
this is a good month.
That's good.
And so I'll finally be free. When you're on probation, I mean, when you're staying sober, it's very simple. It was really hard when I first started it because I was trying to beat the system. I was trying to still get high and still
Hey,
pass drug tests.
How'd that work out for you?
It didn't work out
Yeah,
at all.
okay.
Didn't work out at all. But thankfully, I did get sober. And so my goal the next 5 years would be, of course, to stay sober.
Okay, there we go.
Stay sober. And I love what Spiritual Solutions in Sullivan is a sober living house that opened up, and
They're doing
it's
amazing.
been great. Yeah, my brother, he got out of prison, and I helped get him in, and he's just excelling. He's doing awesome, and all the guys there, they fill up the meeting rooms. It's great, and I would like to be able to do something like that, open another one.
Well, cool. Okay.
But so we'll see. One day at a time.
That's it. One day at a time. And I also believe in you too. If anybody can open a treatment facility that has wraparound and inpatient and outpatient, and then you're going to partner with Ryan and have a sober living facility in Franklin County and a recovery taxi. I mean, if there's any two individuals that can do it, seriously, counsel people from Franklin County, if you're listening, you know the two people to make it happen. I am so grateful for each of you. And I'll be honest, when we created this program, I should say when Jenny Armbruster wrote the grant for the program, I had no idea really what was going to come of it. And it has exceeded all of our expectations because of you two, because of Tricia, but because of you two. So you are saving lives every single day. And I can't speak highly enough of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you for being here at the Preventable. And you can join me anytime, y'all. Okay? All right. If you want more with Kenajo and Ryan, or you want more in-depth conversations that I hope you have found inspiring, because I don't know about you, but I'm leaving here today feeling pretty good about how things in the world are working. If you like this, please consider rate, reviewing, and subscribing. Thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us at The Preventable, brought to you ad-free by Prevent+Ed. Prevent+Ed works to reduce or prevent the harms of alcohol and other drug use through education, intervention, and advocacy. Please visit their website at prevented.org. Like what you heard? Rate, review, and subscribe to stay up to date with what we are serving on The Preventable.